Welcome to the Corporate Detox podcast. I'm your host, Ana McWhorter. I'm a corporate dropout, recovering people pleaser and perfectionist turned burnout recovery coach. If you are sick of the corporate roller coaster ride and ready to step into a life you love, this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to the Corporate Detox podcast. I'm your host, Ana McWhorter, and today I am with my wonderful guest, Ana Pautassi. She is a business coach and marketing strategist. She's the founder of the Dreaming Big Lifestyle, a business focused on helping entrepreneurs create the life that they love by increasing their time freedom and financial security through marketing strategies and business coaching. Ana, I am so thrilled to talk to you, and let's jump into your corporate detox story if you're ready to go.
Let's do it. Great. I'm really excited to share this story because I think it's one that's not as common, especially in sort of the era that we're in right now when it comes to entrepreneurship, because I feel like for a long time it's been go all in, don't look back. And for me, the experience wasn't necessarily like that. With that said, corporate detox is a thing, and it's a very real thing that a lot of us have to go through when you become an entrepreneur. And for me, that looked like finishing university. So I did both. I'm from Canada, so I did both college and university. We have two second level education opportunities here, and did both of those. And after that, I got into the corporate world. And what I was noticing was that those high paying jobs, the ones that are sold as the American dream, are kind of built on very toxic environments, very hierarchy, leadership, go above and beyond, do these additional and extra things in hopes that someone recognizes you, in hopes that you get compensation for it. And a lot of the times, you don't get the recognition that you're looking for. You don't get that validation. You don't get that pay raise. So it was very much a wake up call when I started working at a corporate office in the financial district. And in my eyes, this was just like a job. It really was not a career for me, but I did see the potential in getting into some of the other areas that they had within there to hopefully, fulfill that American dream of being in a company that allows you to grow, build your career step by step, get yourself all the way up there into those C-level jobs, executive positions. And the toxic environment was just an instant no for me. And it's kind of wild that a company can be successful with such negative energy and intensity behind it. So it was kind of interesting being in that situation because I'm watching all these people have these almost like mental battles. And for me, that looked like waking up in the morning and having a fight with my manager in my head before I had even entered the office space. So it was pretty intense when I had this sort of, wait a second, this shouldn't be normal and this isn't okay. So from that position of being in the corporate world where I was in this toxic environment, having fights with people in my head before I even encountered them in reality, was taking me down this very negative trajectory. And it just was not for me. And I actually started saying, actually 3 months into the job, which is your probation period, I already knew that I didn't want to work there. And I remember having a conversation with my mom and saying like, I don't even want to, like, I don't want to stick around. This isn't for me. And my mom was like, well, it's only been 3 months. Like, how can you really know? And since then, I'm like, listen, if my intuition is telling me something, I'm going to listen because it was not worth staying there for the year and a half that I did when I knew 3 months in that it wasn't the job for me and that the toxic work environment within that company wasn't for me. But anyways, I stuck it out. And probably about like 6 months before I left the company, I just started telling people, I'm like, I'm leaving this place in May. I don't care how, I don't care if I have a job lined up, I don't care, like, I need a deadline of walking away from this job because when you have that safety net of having income coming in, like biweekly, monthly, whatever that looks like, and you have a what you would call a purpose, although it doesn't feel fulfilling, but it's a purpose in the sense of you are contributing to society. it's really hard to get out of that, even if you know it's not for you. So in my mind, I was like, I'm setting a deadline. It's going to be May. It's going to be May. And I was telling everyone in that office, which I probably shouldn't have because I feel like I was just adding to the toxic environment. But I was also like, we should all revolt, which, star employee over here trying to get everyone to revolt. Um, but the funny thing is that by doing this, I unintentionally manifested getting let go from the position, from that job, because I was so determined on leaving. But I felt like looking back on it, it was the kick in the butt that I needed to walk away and actually find something that I truly loved. Because at that point, it was like any little thing felt like it was 100% magnified into the most negative, worst case scenario thing, no matter what it was. One email came in, I was like, oh, why are people emailing me? Like, it was just really horrible. When you think negative, you attract more negative. And that was what was happening. It wasn't just at work. Now in my personal life, I was constantly thinking negative. So I was attracting more negative. So I was let go of that job. And I said to myself, I'm not going to make this mistake again. So I'm going to focus on what it is that I want from a career. So I wrote down word by word what I wanted. I want to work 9 to 5. I don't want to work weekends. I want a job that allows me to use my education, which was like marketing and journalism. I want a job that allows me to go to events, that has dress down Fridays, that has team lunches, all these things. I was so detailed. I wrote it all out. I was applying to a handful of jobs. I really did not apply to something unless it actually felt aligned to this idea that I had built. And within a month of being let go of that job, I found my dream job and I got hired for exactly everything that I had written down that I wanted. So it was a pretty magical experience. And then I was in that company for 5 years and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. But then I sort of hit a point of not being able to grow anymore. And then during that time of 2020 and 2021, we all know what happened during those years. I extremely burnt out. I remember my husband, back then boyfriend, coming home and I was sitting on the couch. It was dark out. It was 4 p.m., but it's already dark outside because it's winter. And I'm sitting there drinking wine. This is like a weekday. And I just was crying. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I just cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this life. I cannot just sit in front of the computer, do this job. I am so overwhelmed. I'm so burnt out. And it felt like such rock bottom because I had worked so hard to get this dream job. So for it to kind of come crashing down on me, I was like, not really ready to process it, but my body was like, we're out, we're not here anymore. And my brain was out the window, was not here anymore. So I was like, okay, I got to walk away from it. Like, it's not normal to be sitting on the couch crying at 4 p.m. in the dark. That's not cool. So I made the decision to go all in on my business. At this point, my business had been running part-time for a year, and I was like, this is it. This is my wake-up call. My business is my purpose. I love helping female entrepreneurs grow their businesses and have control of their lives and the time and their income so that they can do what they want with it. And I absolutely love what I'm doing. And it's not okay to have this other thing that's just burning me out, dimming my light, and making me feel like I have no energy to focus on anything or anyone, let alone myself or my business. So I walked away from what could have continued to be that American dream of building this career, but it just wasn't for me. And it was such a detox. And I can say that as an entrepreneur right now, it is still a detox from it because we are programmed to work in a 9 to 5 kind of way. And with those habits of you start work at 9, you finish at 5. And as an entrepreneur, you kind of don't have to do that anymore. And a lot of the times we forget that because we're breaking this cycle that has not only been like drilled into us from our work experience, but society expects it. Yet, if you're not a morning person and you're an afternoon person, like work in the afternoon. Don't wake up at 9 a.m. to basically feel drained. And it's going to take you twice as long to get through your to-do list because you don't have the energy to do it in the morning. Versus if you actually dedicated to do it in the afternoon, because that's when you have the most energy, you're going to get your to-do list done so much quicker because you have the right energy for it. So the detoxing continues to happen as we continue to build our businesses because what allows us to work in a 9 to 5, trading our time for money, isn't necessarily what's actually going to grow a business when you put on your CEO hat and actually look at what you want your life to look like and, how to build a business to support that lifestyle.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, first of all, let's talk about the American dream. So, I like to think that what we were told when we were growing up defines success is just like totally outdated at
Yeah.
this point, right? And I think 2020 to me, because so many of us entered this entrepreneurial space during that time,
Hmm.
right? Or we started making those decisions. That was such a catalyst for us to see that there's something different than the hustle and grind that we were taught like should lead to success. And a lot of us, that's when we were feeling the height of our burnout, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think you're touching on such an important part there because it's like the American dream is outdated, but yet we're still following so many of the foundational aspects that built that American dream that societies were enforcing and still enforce in a way that doesn't make sense. And during, 2020, 21, when everyone was working from home, the productivity of these companies went through the roof. And they're like, how does that even make sense? Well, it makes sense because we're adults and we don't need to be micromanaged and we know how to manage our time well. And that American dream of being in an office, it's just not working anymore because let's be honest, we walk into the office and we grab a coffee, we chat with someone. So, like, are we actually working 8 hours in a day? No, we're not. But at home, when my free time is, I can do laundry, I can go for a walk, I can do all these things that re energize me.
mm,
I can get so much more work done because no one's interrupting me and I'm doing things that make me feel fulfilled. So, when it comes down to your own business, it's the same thing. It's like you have to add those things that make you feel fulfilled. Like if you feel like working from a coffee shop, go to the coffee shop and work from there. Like no one is holding you accountable to sitting in that office in your house, right? And a lot
yes.
of the times we forget about that because of this foundational way of building this American dream that, like you said, it's just outdated. Like it doesn't make sense anymore in the way that we're heading.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. So let's go back to the toxic corporate environment. Would you say that when you are working with some of your clients now, that that is what a lot of people experience and that helps them make the decision of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I would say not all of them, but a lot of them have had some sort of corporate world experience that has burnt them in some way, whether that
Yeah.
was a toxic environment or a bad manager or, like bad structure of the company. There's been things that have burned them and then pushes them to go, okay, this isn't the life I want to live. It's not like work-life balance. It's I want life 24/7 and I need an income, which, we're all smart here. We all need money to build that life. But it's like, I don't have to be chained to that income source. And one thing that I see a lot, especially those that are coming to me that are looking to start a business, it's they're having that realization that a 9 to 5 job is one source of income. If that disappears, your source of income disappears.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do? You
Mm,
need something versus when you have your own business and you have like different products, different courses, different services, each one of those can be viewed as an income source. And if one of them isn't producing, the other ones are. So it's like you're constantly have an income source wheel coming into your world. So I noticed that a lot of people are becoming more aware of the fact that having a 9 to 5 job is amazing, but a lot of the companies are built on you're expandable. Like we don't need you. We can replace you tomorrow. And a lot of them enforce that and remind you of that. So then you get anxiety, you get stressed out, you get
mhm.
burnt out because you feel like you have to go above and beyond to prove that they should keep you around. And you kind of go down this cycle that ends up leading you into probably walking away from the 9 to 5
Yeah.
job mentally it just messes with you. And a lot of clients, I've had clients come to me and say, my 9 to 5 makes me so ill that I actually throw up because of the stress and the overwhelm that it causes. Like, no one should ever have to experience that.
Yeah, totally agreed. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about how you help folks out in the world now, because I think that this is just such a pivotal part, a pivotal time really for a lot of us, right? Like realizing that having different income streams is what's going to make us, you know, I don't want to say more successful, but like feel the security without the old adage of staying somewhere because it's a security blanket, if that makes sense. Like a lot of us stayed at our corporate jobs because we were taught that that's the secure thing to do.
Yeah, 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 we definitely were. We definitely were. And I feel
Yeah.
like we still are, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to having young children decide their futures to go off, what do you want to study to then make a career out of that, right? And it's like, maybe that's not what we should be doing at such a young age. There's so
Yeah.
much pressure to pretty much have your entire future figured out. But yeah, what I work with clients on is building a business that supports their lifestyle. So, although I'm a business coach and I use a lot of my marketing strategies, business strategies, I also do a lot of mindset work because we're trying to break out of those 9 to 5 habits of I need to trade my time for money. Well, if you're doing that, then you just created a job for yourself. Like your business needs to be able to produce money without you having to be there 24/7. Otherwise, you are going to work 80 hours a week. Mind you, there is a time and place where you need to dedicate more time, but your business should never be a job replacement. It should be a business. And that needs to run a little bit different, which means that all these things that we've been taught from the 9 to 5 habits and world gotta be like shaken up and stirred. And we gotta rework that to make sense
Mm.
for you. So I help my clients develop businesses that support their lifestyle. So we get very clear on where do you want to be in 4 months? Like, what does your life look like? Not your business, but your life. Okay, now what do you like doing? Okay, and that's how your business fits in. Great. Awesome. And then what does it look like in 1 year? And maybe like 5 years. Or actually, what I get them to do is like the rich girl version or like the rich them version. If you had all the money in the world, what does your day to day look like? And then how can we build a business as stepping stones towards that? And when I say stepping stones, I don't mean like step one, step two. These are leaps that tend
Yeah.
to happen, but a lot of it comes down to those foundational things in your business. Like, do you have the right systems so that when you're off on vacation, your business is still running behind the scenes, you're still calling in clients, but you don't have to be checking your emails. You don't have to be on social media unless you want to be, right? So we build that stuff and then we work through the mindset too. There's a lot of money mindset blocks because in the corporate world, we're taught to wait for a raise, to hope that we get the recognition that we're looking for. So we are almost trained to not ask for money. So then when you are selling something, sometimes it feels very awkward because you're not used to being like, I have this thing and it costs this money. Do you want to trade? Do you
Yeah.
want to do a trade here? So we have to work through those mindset things as well so that they feel the confidence of, you are worthy of making this money. You didn't just wake up one day and decide to be a doctor and walk into a hospital. Like, you are building this business because you feel you have a purpose here and you have knowledge and skills to share with it.
Hmm. So when I decided to leave the corporate world, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have another source of income. And I took some time to decompress, not very long. I left the first week in December, took like kind of the holidays off because I worked retail. So it was really nice to enjoy the holidays that year. And then in January, decided to start my own business. One of the things that I was not prepared for was the mindset work that I would have to do. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Um, what we tend to do, right? Like you're saying, is we bring a lot of that corporate mindset into our jobs because that's all we have known or we've seen, right? And just the thought of me being able to lay out how I wanted my life to be, right? Figuring what's most important and then working my business around that. was just such a mind-blowing concept. For the
Yeah.
longest time, I felt like I wasn't working enough.
Yeah. And it can feel that way at the beginning because until you have the clients coming in and, having those conversations with people that are interested, it almost feels like you're putting out flyers and no one's picking them up. It's like, when you're on the street and someone hands you something and you grab it and you put it straight into the trash, like it almost feels that way in the digital world when you don't have any interactions or no one's knocking on your door. For
Yeah.
that first year, I talked to a lot of business owners. In that first year of business, it's a constant mindset battle of, should I go get a part-time job? Did I do the right thing? Was this the right call? And again, it comes down to, well, we were never trained what it means to be an entrepreneur. We were never trained what it is to be a CEO unless you already were a CEO. And at which case, most CEOs are how old? Like, they're not, a lot of them aren't that young. Or now we're starting to see the wave of younger CEOs, but it's like that wasn't something that was obtainable at younger ages of like your 20s, 30s,
Yeah.
40s. Like, sorry, no, that's not happening because you need this entire resume behind it. Versus you are now right off the bat going, I'm going to be a CEO of this business that I'm building. And I'm also going to be the employee. And I'm also going to be the marketing expert. And I'm also going to be all these things because when you're starting off your business, you really are taking on all these roles. And it's how do you do that when you go from a mindset and a way of working that's, you only have to do one thing or you only have to focus on these three things to now I have to focus on everything. So even that in itself is a huge change when you think about corporate 9 to 5 and being an entrepreneur.
Oh, it's a huge change. So when you're walking your clients through what it is that's going to be important for them, right? As they look at their life in 4 months or a year, what are some areas that you typically hit with them?
So we look at their lifestyle. So, right now you're making decisions based on who you are right now and what reality you've experienced and the lessons that you've learned. So when you're trying to put yourself in the position of you, like, I would go further than 4 months. I would say a year from now. It's like you don't really know what's going to happen between now and that year. So you're making decisions of you right now. So if you put yourself over there, you already figured it all out. You already reached all your goals. Like, what does that feel like? I
Mm.
think the first thing is to understand the feeling behind it, because at any point in time, you can tap into a feeling. You can tap into feeling happy. You can tap into feeling sad. You can tap into feeling angry. You can tap into a feeling. And we all know how feelings feel. Like we can take a second, take a deep breath, and put ourselves there. So then what does it feel like to be a year out and already accomplish all the goals that you have for the year? How does that feel? Cool. So now take that feeling and walk me through how you're making decisions from that point of feeling. So if you feel relaxed, supported, and happy, what decisions are you making right now in your business? So I got them to do that exercise, but we also look at your life. So like, what do you do on a day to day? So if you woke up today, what would you be doing? Would you actually be going and sitting in front of your computer and working? Or do you have an office that you go to? Do you have a store that you go to? What does that look like? Who are you talking to? Who's in your world? What are you doing for lunch? Are you going shopping? What kind of places do you go shopping at? All these things to start kind of visualizing the potential of the life that you can have. And then your business falls into that too, because in your day to day, like, are you doing business stuff? Or are we looking more like within the week or within the month, I'm going to the office twice because I have an office with a team of people. Or, within a week, I spend at least 10 hours that week working on my business and doing these kind of things. And these are the kind of things that I'm doing and the kind of programs that I'm running or products that I'm selling, whatever that looks like. So we do that. But the key is to tap into the feeling, because at any point in time, right now, when you're spiraling because things aren't going the way that you were hoping for, because we are constantly trying to have control of everything as business owners, tap into that feeling. That feeling is going to center you and like, okay, if I was doing from a place of being calm, supported, collected, happy, what decision would I make right this second? What action would I take right this second from that feeling? And it changes what you would do.
Oh, I love that. That's a good reminder for me because I go back to my old ways often. And, I celebrate the fact that there's awareness around that, right? That I realize that I'm doing that versus that's just how I lived, period, before. But oh, that's really good. Um, what if you had to say the biggest obstacle for your clients, what would you say that is?
I think it comes down to worthiness for a lot of them.
Ooh.
Because at every stage of your business, whether you're a year in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, you're reaching new levels of growth within your business and the reality that you haven't yet experienced. And you have to battle the worthiness component, like feeling worthy of making that much money, feeling worthy of helping that many people, feeling worthy of being a business owner, feeling worthy of going and standing in front of that crowd at that conference and talking about what you do. And a lot of times people associate that with confidence, which it is the same thing, but it's more like commonly talked about confidence, but really is the worthiness. Like, do you actually feel worthy of these things? And I find a lot of the times, no matter what stage of business they're in, what goal they're going after, the conversation has to be, do you feel worthy? Especially when the self-sabotage kicks in. That's a key indicator of you not feeling worthy of that thing because the little voice in your head is going, there's someone out there that can do it better than you. There's someone out there that already does this, that already has this. Like, is there enough for you out there? The answer to that is yes, there's enough for everyone. Doesn't matter what you want, okay? There's enough for everyone. But it's a self-sabotaging and it gets mixed in with the worthiness. Because if you feel worthy, your brain, as soon as it goes, are you sure that's for you? You're like, yeah, of course. Like, sorry, little voice in my head, go away. Who invited you to this party? Like, you're not here.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. So two books that I've read on my journey about worthiness. Worthy Human by Tracy Litt. If you've not read that, it's super good. Um, and I just started reading Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. And it it's exactly what you're saying, right? Like when you decide to become an entrepreneur, it is the biggest piece of personal development that you will ever do in your entire life. And it's not always around business. It is more so around yourself.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yes. Oh my gosh. So tell us, for our listeners, how can they connect with you? What do you have going on if they want to enter your world? Give them a sneak peek into that because I would love to be able to connect more folks to you because I truly believe in the corporate detox movement and the work that you do fits in so well with that.
Thank you. Yes, if you want to connect with me in my world, come check me out at Dreaming Big Lifestyle. You can find me on any social media platform. That's also my website link as well. We'd love to connect with you there. I have a whole bunch of one-on-one programs. The conversation kind of veered into the mindset world. So I will mention that I have a mindset course, which is the foundational work that I did right before I started my business, which I feel like without it, I would not be here today because, like you mentioned, as an entrepreneur, you don't realize that what you go through is more of a mindset journey and like a self and personal growth journey, more so than actually developing a business. Like, it's such a huge component. So for me, that was just the starting point of everything. So I actually built a course. It's called Good Vibes. Good vibes,
Yay.
that's what we want. So you can go check that out. It's a great course. It has so many good workshops in there and workbooks and whatnot. And yeah, come check me out on Dreaming Big Lifestyle.
Awesome. So, Anna, if you had to give one closing piece of advice to our listeners, what would it be?
Put yourself in the game. A lot of the times, what we do, especially when we're doing something that we either don't have examples of very near in our life, meaning like if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or recently became an entrepreneur and you don't have family members or friends that are doing that, means that you don't really have an example, like a living example that you can kind of grasp to and visualize. So a lot of the times what we do is that we play but we play not to lose instead of playing to win. Like we play just enough to make enough money to make what we were making in a corporate world, but we are not playing to actually be successful and like to win the game of what that looks like. We're just playing to kind of not fail. So this is my invitation for you to play to win. You know, if you were actually doing things right now in your business that wasn't just enough, it was like, this is it. This one post is going to get 100 people in my DMs. Like you're playing to win. What does that look like for you? I'm giving you permission to explore that and start showing up that way.
That's perfect. If it's hard for you to figure out what you have to do to play to win, I want to add like a little challenge behind that.
Yeah.
Get outside or go someplace where you can clear your mind, close your eyes, and just dream of your life in 2 years, a year, 5 years, whatever feels easy for you. And think about what Ana said about how do you feel, right? And then make those decisions based on that.
I love it. That's a great challenge. For me, being out in nature is such a good detox from everything. And even if it's just a short 5-minute walk, don't bring your headphones, don't listen to music, don't listen to this podcast while you're on this nature walk. Just go and truly be in nature. It allows your mind to decompress because we're constantly consuming information.
Yeah.
You know, we have so much information in the palm of our hands through our phone that our brain needs a moment to relax. And when you're in nature, you're connecting to this energy that you're not getting when you're sitting in front of your computer, and your creativity starts running wild. So I love this exercise that you've just encouraged your listeners to do.
Thank you so much for the inspiration on that. And I will drop all of Ana's information in the show notes. And I encourage you, follow her on social media. If you want to send her a DM or an email or whatever that is, just follow up with her, because if you are somebody that listens to this podcast consistently, you know that this is such a huge part of what we do. And Ana, I just want to thank you for your time today and for bringing your wisdom on here for everyone.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me and for opening up this platform to do so.
So, are you ready to start your own corporate detox journey? Well, if you are, make sure that you check out amandamcwhorter.net for different ways to work with me, as well as some freebies that could help you get started. If you're on social media, follow me at Amanda K. McWhorter on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.